Welcome back to Warehouse and Operations as a Career, the podcast about operations, by operations men and women. We try and bring you a little information each week about warehousing and transportation, two fields within our industry that you won't find a more passionate group of people to connect with than our WAOC group. I'm Marty, and I appreciate you listening in with us today. We grabbed the old mobile equipment and headed over to the Distribution Training Center in Oak Cliff, Texas today to answer a few questions and talk about a couple of warehouse positions. Some of them being those how to get my foot in the door type positions. Now we may hear a little warehouse noise and some horn honking in the background as there's a couple of 29 CFR 1910.178 classes going on. Just on the other side of the office wall here. So each year about this time, we hear from several listeners regarding breaking into the field or what's my next step. Maybe a few of where should I go from here kind of questions. I figured what better place to discuss those topics than over at the DTC. You may remember we've mentioned the Distribution Training Center a couple of times last year, but I think that this is the first time we've actually recorded from over here. The Distribution Training Center is owned by Belmar Integrated Logistics, a national sourcing company. We've had a couple of their employees on the show before. They kind of use it for a lot of their PIT or Powered Industrial Truck certification and instruction. In really many different training courses. I've been instructing one such class here the last 2 weeks. I've really enjoyed working with all the new talent and discussing so many ops topics with them. Before I get too far off topic to rein myself back in, let's get to a few of those questions. WAOC, how would you suggest I get a job in the warehouse? Well, with that being a bit of a broad question, I thought we'd talk about a few positions they instruct over here, and I'll point out a few of my favorite kind of get your foot in the door type tasks. Let's start with the freight coming in the door and see how far we can get today. Maybe we'll make it all the way through to the shipping positions in transportation. Taking that path right there, unloading or lumping would be our first topic. I think this is a great get our foot in the door job. It's the first step in the supply chain regarding bringing product into a distribution center or a DC, requiring very little, if any, experience. If you are willing to work hard and learn not only how to move cases, but learn how to read purchase orders and breakdown sheets, you'll have the opportunity to work with tie highs and be around pallet runners, receivers, and maybe even forklift drivers. A PO or purchase order is what your merchandising department, it's the product that they have ordered. The breakdown sheet will tell you how many SKUs or items are on the trailer and how to break them down and how many finished pallets you're going to end up with. You'll identify and separate those items, stacking them on pallets with the proper tie or how many cases are on each layer, and the high, meaning how many of those layers you place on the pallet so it can fit into its designated slot for picking or storage. We'll want to alternate each layer so that the configuration ties or locks the freight onto the pallet. That way the pallet or freight is built sturdy and stable. Otherwise, if we just kind of column stacked it, everything would just fall over when we moved it. Now this work is hard, but the pay can be very much worthwhile. A lot of our larger corporate companies will contract out the unloading to a third party. One of the incentives to unloading or lumping is piece pay. We're paid by the piece that we unload, and maybe there's an additional pay piece for finished pallets too. Meaning the quicker we unload one trailer, the sooner we can start another one, and so on. That money can really add up quickly, and before you know it, we're all wrapped up and done for the day. Some days can be long as a unloader, but some of them's going to be kind of short days too. Now, I consider this position a skilled task. Many will tell you it's a general labor position. I kind of laugh at those individuals. I challenge anyone to learn to read a breakdown sheet, learn every pallet configuration in your warehouse, and make it happen all day long, and then say it's a general labor position. There's a little bit of turnover in unloaders, and that's a lot of promotions too. Unloaders work closely with pallet runners and forklift drivers, quite a bit with the receivers also. Those positions are kind of the progression path for a good unloader. Someone that's applied themselves and learned a little, about all those positions that touches theirs. That's the WAOC way, right? Next in our little supply chain would be the receiver position. He or she will count the product the loaders have broken down and, that's been staged, enter it into inventory, tagged it for the pallet runners and forklift operators to haul off and place it in the pick slot or the reserve locations. This is a job with a lot of responsibility. Receiving the product by signing off on the bill of lading, that's a commercial legal document stating what's been delivered by the carrier. Is just like signing a check for the entire purchase order. If any product was shorted or damaged, and as a receiver we failed to notate it on the BOL, well, we just purchased it anyway. Try explaining that to your boss. I really loved receiving, but it does carry a lot of weight or responsibility with it. It's a great precursor to a lead or supervisor position. We'll be working closely with our merchandising department and, of course, our warehouse management teams. There's quite a bit of regulatory rules that we'll need to follow, depending on what industry that we're in. Now, this is definitely not a get our foot in the door job, but a solid stepping stone towards our career goals sometimes. And with that brings us to the pallet runner. Now, this position can be our first step from the unloading or lumping position. In the larger facilities, we'll usually be using an electric rider jack, maybe a double or a triple jack, to haul the received product from the docks to the aisles for the lift drivers. And that's really about all there is to the job descriptions. But try it. Again, navigating the docks with people and equipment operating all around you and setting up the aisles like several different fork drivers want their pallets staged can be quite the challenge. And this isn't usually a starting position unless you have a lot of equipment experience. Usually pallet runners are pulled from unloading or the sanitation departments, or that's kind of what I see mostly. Then we'll move on to the put-away task. That's a forklift position. It's called put-away because that's exactly what we're doing. Placing the received pallets into the pick slots or the reserve locations. It's our job to store everything properly. Generally, our WMS or warehouse management systems will direct us where the product's going to go. Remember that tag our receiver placed on the pallet when they received it? Well, that barcode will track the pallet all the way through the storage process, right along its journey until it's delivered to the customer. This position carries quite a lot of responsibility as well. As with all of our warehouse positions, safety will be our number one goal. Let's see, what's next in our little chain? The order selector. Order selecting is not typically going to be one of those get our foot in the door positions. These are generally a skilled position, a productivity-driven job. Many times our pay will be based on a buy-the-case program or some type of incentive program. The more we pull or select, the more we're going to earn. I feel one of the downfalls of this position, well, it's not really associated with the position, but in your typical order selector's eyes, there is not much of a team mentality. I mean, your pay is based on what you do, and that's a great thing, yet it just can't be all about ourselves. Facilities that encourage more of a team approach are going to be much more successful. Another thing us as order selectors have to recognize is that if we have other plans, things like management, inventory control, transportation, or any other operations duties, we need to let our supervisors know about our goals. Being one of the high producers, as I'm sure we will be, it's going to get us noticed, all right? Our supervisor isn't ever going to think about us moving on. He or she is going to like our productivity numbers and want to keep us there with them, adding to their metrics. If we've shared our goals and plan with them, though, we'll still be an asset to them. They will need someone to take their place before they can move on to another position. If our name is the one that's on the tip of their tongue when their boss asks, "Do you have someone ready to take your place?" Bam! Everyone looks good. Now, an order selector carries quite a bit of responsibility too. Errors are extremely costly. Selection damages are avoidable. Safety, again, is our number one priority. Chances are we'll be working with a selection device, either a wrist mount and scanner or a speech-to-select type unit of some kind. Order selecting is one of the highest earning positions in our warehouse. It's hard work and brings a lot of responsibility with it. And this is one of those jobs that only touch a few other positions directly. We'll punch in, pick up our pallet jack, perform our pre-trip, grab our selection unit, pick up or download our first batch, run the warehouse aisles, selecting our product, wrap the pallet and stage it on the front docks for loading on the truck for delivery. We'll do that around a dozen times, punch out, and go home. Now, it really pays well. It's hard work, and we'll need to enjoy the job if we're going to be successful at it. I loved order selecting. Have a plan, though. If your goal is another position, include your supervisor in that plan. Let them know what your thoughts are. Let's see, next would be the replenishment forklift position. Pretty much the exact same job description as our put-away driver, just kind of in reverse. This is the man or woman that's going to keep the pick slots filled for the order selectors. A little more pressure maybe than its counterpart due to the additional traffic on the docks and in the aisles. They'll need to really be safe, aware of their surroundings at all times. Selectors are in the aisles with them. Loaders and sanitation people are up on the docks. People and equipment are really going to be everywhere. This is definitely a safety-first position. As with any equipment operator position, we'll need experience or be promoted to this task. We'll need training, certification, and experience to really make our mark. Now, this can be a great stepping stone position too. We'll be working closely with several other tasks and our management teams. I think replenishment is really a great position. And of course, we'll wrap up with loading. Now, this is another great get our foot in the door position. It's not a general labor job. We'll need to learn to read a load map or a sheet that tells us where to place the pallets and in what order. We'll be working closely with the management teams and the outbound drivers. We'll be talking with the selectors and our transportation departments. Just about any positions that we spoke of today could be our next move from here. As a loader, we will learn every item that's carried in our warehouse by sight and probably know where it's slotted. Again, this is a position where we're going to work hard. Loaders can be paid by the hour, by the piece, or by the pallet loaded. I've really seen it structured several different ways. I enjoyed loading when I was doing it, and it led me to other positions within the industry. Well, I veered off topic a little today. I hope I answered the question of how do I get started in the industry or where do I go from here thoughts. If not, please send us an email to host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com and I'll try and be a little more specific with our replies. I really wanted to interview one of the trainers, but they're just having a busy day today. I'll come back over here again though and we'll get one of them to sit down with us for a bit. Until next week, work with your planning and goals a bit. What's your next step? And as always, please be safe out there. Our family members are going to be excited to see us when we get home.